So this is going to be a short little video where we take care of two things. In the last video, we added a bullet, and the bullet has a collider box, but it does not actually check for a collision, so we'll add that. The other thing that we'll add is we're going to add a score, which is actually really easy to do. So first let's add the score object. So create empty score text, and then on that you're going to add mesh, text mesh. We will set the character size to 0.2, the font size to 24, the font to Arial, and we'll set the text to the word score, the colon, move that into the upper left corner. Now in the base control, we do not check for any collisions yet, so that's what we're going to do. Just like in the missile and the jellyfish script, we need to add an on trigger enter, so we'll just paste this right in to base control script. On trigger enter 2D collider 2D other, just like the other times. Although this time we're going to check for two different ones, and we're connecting it with an OR. This symbol is actually the vertical line, which is the shift variation of the / above the enter key, at least on my keyboard. I believe it's called the pipe. At least that's what my tech instructor told me years ago. So it's the key above the enter key. It's the symbol above the / So you need two of those, just like you need two ampersands when you do an AND. You need two of these for OR, and you need this extra set of parentheses surrounding the whole thing because you're looking for this whole thing to be true. Well, actually, either one of this whole thing to be true. So we're looking for a collision with another object. If other.gameObject.name is equal to bullet clone, because as we said, when an object gets instantiated, a prefab gets instantiated, it appends the word clone in parentheses, or other.gameObject.name equals jellyfish. In that case, we have attached a script that altered the name when it gets instantiated. So if a collision with either one of those occurs, destroy the game object. So the player object, the base control is attached to the base will get destroyed if it collides with a bullet or a jellyfish. That easy. Now the second thing, in the GM control script, which is attached to our GM object, we said we're going to use this to kind of tie together all these kind of ancillary functions. Public static int, and we'll call it player score, and it will default to 0. And what we're going to do is in the update section, actually you've got one more thing to do, sorry. Public transform, and we'll call this score obj. So that's going to be used for our score object here. So click on GM because that's what the GM control script is attached to, and you now see that's there. Drag and drop the score text onto that. So take note, this is not a prefab. This is not in the asset area. This is actually an object that's already in the scene. So sometimes when you're creating a transform, you're using a prefab. Sometimes you're using something that's already in the scene. Now it's just a matter of updating this. So score obj dot get component. What component? Well, we want to change the text mesh. Okay, well, what attribute? We want to change text. And what are we going to set it to? I'm going to set it to the word score with a colon like we did at the beginning, a space, the plus sign, And now you can actually append a variable. And in this case, the variable is player score. But because it's a number, you have to add this to string. To me, I wish the system was smart enough just to convert a number into a text. Unfortunately, at least in 4.6 it didn't. It would actually throw an error saying that you cannot implicitly change it. So, you have to do that. And now, so we created a score, a variable. We have that score, that variable I should say, attached to this text object. So now it's just a matter of increasing that. Well, we can do that right in missile control. In the on trigger enter, this is where it's looking for a collision with the jellyfish. Just do GM control because that's where that variable is stored. Player score plus equals 10. So every time you blow up the jellyfish, you get 10. That should take care of everything. So we blow up the jellyfish. There we go. Now let's look for a collision. Jellyfish. That worked. So as far as game balance, obviously it's incredibly simple. You probably want to make the missile smaller. Probably would want to make these guys a little bit smaller. I'm trying to get hit by a bullet, but I am failing. There we go. Alright, so all the functionality is there. So we added score, added collisions, and what you would do is, since there's only one life, the way this is set up, where you have the collision in the base, where we just destroy the object and the scene keeps running, this is where you do your end of scene functionality. You'd either display a score, you'd bring everything to a halt, go back, to a title screen. So that should about do it. If there's any additional functionality, just let me know.